This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace.
It's been a couple of weeks since the initial flurry around Sony's new $845, 654 gram 100-400 f5.6 to f8 lens. So what can I possibly tell you that you don't already know? Yeah, well, a thing or three. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant. And on the one hand, it is really this simple. 1. Seeing a 400mm field of view through the viewfinder, rather than discovering a better picture, maybe in post by cropping, quickly zooming in and out while I'm actually on the scene to find and hold on to a subject of interest allowed me to capture images I might have otherwise missed. 2. To my eye, the images I just shared with you look good, really good, although I omitted images suffering from the A7CR's pretty terrible rolling shutter, increasingly an issue for me with stills. 3. The irony is that shooting with it in New York, I usually backed off from 400mm. All but 2 of my keepers were below 300mm. In fact, a field of view I could crop into using glass I already have, using the A7CR's 61-megapixel sensor. Hold that thought. But that's just me and my genre, neither of which are the target audience for this lens. 4. But if you are, or what you do is, the target audience for this lens, remain clear-eyed. Real life, atmospheric conditions, exposure, error, most important of all, the photographer, can and invariably does make far more difference to a final image than lens design, coating, special elements, etc. Duh. Finally, 5. You should already know whether this lens is right for you because its strengths and weaknesses are straightforward, as are the use cases for which they matter. If you are budget or schlep constrained, but can shoot in light good enough with subjects slow enough, the 100-400 f5.6 to f8 from Sony is a terrific lens. $845 for a lens with image quality this good in the real world, this much reach, this small light, and easily hand-holdable with excellent lens IS and IBIS in the right camera? Wow. If you don't like the plasticky feel, how quickly that f5.6 becomes f8, or grumble about it being not a G or G Master lens, suck it up, sunshine. Let's not get Piggy. On the other hand, for the rest of us, well, if you're a landscape shooter, I'd say the same thing. It's really a great pick. A sports enthusiast covering lawn bowling, sure. A traveler in midday heat with well-fed lions lounging on the Serengeti right after lunch in bright daylight, staring back at you inside your properly kitted out Landy or Eneos? I guess you'd be okay then too. Maybe. Otherwise, not so much. If you're a safari enthusiast or birder who typically shoots in the lower light levels of golden hour in the morning or late afternoon, a parent trying to capture your kids on the field during late afternoon or evening school games, forget about indoor sports, but most especially, of course, a hardcore sports or wildlife shooter whose subjects move in the blink of an eye and who needs the highest shutter speeds even in bright light. Well, you've probably already concluded that you face an unacceptably high price in image quality and or rendering, not from the lens's optics per se, but from its slow variable aperture beginning at f5.6. The fact that it switches to f6.3 by 114mm, f7.1 by 172, and f8 by 211 is splitting hairs, really, because we're talking about one-third stop increments, no more than a single stop across the entire focal range. At the short end, 100mm at a maximum possible aperture of f5.6 means this ain't no bokeh monster. You won't get classic shallow depth of field rendering, which is precisely where bokeh monsters are most in demand. Finding great virtue in the versatility of 100-400 for the most demanding sports and wildlife? Easy. I imagine birders would pony up for a zoom of this focal range for exactly this reason. You spot the bird, bring the camera up to your eye, or jump from your foldable chair to your tripod-mounted camera, the lens already set wider to make it easier to find and lock onto your subject just before takeoff, then follow and zoom to the full 400mm you bought it for. Given when, say, ospreys or eagles hunt, how fast they fly, and how sharp one wants everything to be these days, tack sharp, edge to edge, you might be looking at a shutter speed around 1/2500th of a second at f8 wide open with ISO between 1600 and 4000 in decent light. But maybe not. Could be better. Could be much worse. Neither Claudia nor I are birders. That reality made abundantly clear after visiting Conowingo Dam in Maryland just once. So I'd love to read your thoughts on exposure, zooms versus prime, etc. in the comments section below if you are a birder. Between 2005 and 2010, by the way, give or take, Canon's 400mm f5.6L on their 18-megapixel APS-C 8 frames per second 19 autofocus point 7D was arguably the amateur birder's choice. That combo turned into a 600mm f5.6. Technology has evolved, as have standards. Hybrid phase detection autofocus with bird subject recognition with dedicated AI autofocus processors, higher burst rates, bigger buffers. Today, 2 stops difference, even 3. That's where it is for the most discerning or self-critical among us. Just a little perspective, especially in this new era of AI-powered noise reduction and very high-resolution sensors. Anyway, the differences in size, weight, price, and schlep to get those 2 or 3 stops from other lenses today, potentially including a sufficiently robust tripod and gimbal head, are dramatic. Think 4 kilos and closing in on $7,000 lens only for Sigma's extraordinary 300 to 600 f4. A blood-curdling $13,000 and 3 kilos for Sony's God-tier 400 2.8, although that Sigma's God-tier as well. All of which is a long way of reiterating, don't get piggy. Don't complain about what this 100-400 can't do. Do be prepared to put your money and your muscles where your mouth is if you want more. But here's the thing. Between this non-G Master, non-even plain Jane G, and Sony's 400 2.8, there are other choices. But this little guy, the little engine that could, fares very well against its closer competitors for image quality at the same fields of view and at or near their respective maximum apertures. Based on our testing just last week in the real world, and looking back at images we've taken over the years at our standard test site in Long Island City, I can tell you that, 1, at f8 400mm, the Sony holds its own optically against its nearest direct E-mount competitor, Sigma's 24% more expensive, 74% heavier 100-400 f5.6 to 6.3 at 6.3. I prefer the Sony for size, weight, and handling, and for those of us for whom it matters, a burst rate not gated by Sony. 2, it more than holds its own against Sigma's twice the price, 3 times the weight, 150 to 600. In 2026, for me, size, weight, futz, and schlep matter more than ever. And 61 megapixels let me crop as far as I will ever need. With a little mental interpolation, I'd say it also holds its own against Tamron's closing in on twice the price and 3 times the weight, 150 to 500, 5 to 6.7. Interpolation because back in 2022, the only Sony E-mount camera we owned was the 12-megapixel A7S III. As for the one near competitor I've also tested, 4, call it little Sony, holds its own against Sony's twice the reach, 3 times the price and weight, 400 to 800 f6.3 to 8 GOSS. I prefer the little guy once again for reasons I've already enumerated. But then there's this, 5, at 200 millimeters and f7.1. It holds its own against Sony's twice the price, 1.2 times the weight, 2 full stops faster, 70 to 200 f4 GOSS2, and, until stupid high magnification, Sony's utterly brilliant, closing in on 4 times the price, 160% of the weight, 3 stops faster, 70 to 200 f2.8 G Master 2. I just said that out loud. I'm not saying there's no difference. But I am saying this. In the real world, testing at infinity focus, at less than stupid high magnification pixel peeping, printing up to maybe 17 by 22 or larger and light good enough, never mind Instagram's maybe 6 square inches on an iPhone, 99% of us 99% of the time won't see the difference. When, that is, things are well lit and don't move, like the Chrysler Building as the sun comes up behind us and illuminates Midtown Manhattan skyline in all of its glory. Otherwise, like I said, I'd consider 2 stops the minimum improvement to be looking for, 3 if you can afford it and are willing to schlep, and if you're willing to be glaringly obvious to anyone with eyes in their head within 100 yards. In fact, for what we do, I prefer either 70 to 200, because it's a more relevant range for us, but I especially like that f4. The G Master is 1 stop faster, and it is better at the aforementioned stupid high magnification. The 2.8 G Master 2 is a benchmark lens, but the newer f4 is so much smaller and lighter, yet still optically performant at anything short of pixelation, that if it had arrived at the same time as the GM2, I might well have bought it instead. And while you could, if you already have Sony's 70 to 200 2.8 GM2, pony up $600 for 207 grams worth of 2x teleconverter to get the equivalent of a full stop faster 140 to 400 f5.6. I've never met a teleconverter I really liked. Which is why it's worth mentioning a couple of other Sony lenses I have not had in hand. The 3 to 5 times the price and 2 to 3 times the weight, respectively, Sony Original Gangsta 2700 1.4 kilo 100 to 400 4.5 to 5.6 G Master, or their newer $4,300 1.84 kilo 100 to 400 constant aperture f4.5 G Master, which in turn offer between 1 and 1 2/3 stops more light gathering ability. Worth it? Only you know the answer for you. I know neither is worth it for Claudia or me. As for travel, different answer. If you haven't already invested in a full-frame kit, paying more can get you more where it matters. In the also recently announced, here's a whack on the side of the head, Sony RX10 Mark V. Same integrated Zeiss Sonar 24 to 600 full-frame equivalent f2.4 to 4, and same 20-megapixel 1-inch sensor as its 7-year-old predecessor, but yes, now in a new body with Sony's latest processor from the A9 III and a 3.7 million dot EPF, which I quite like, and is a jump over what's in our A7CR. I'll wrap it up this way. First, by expanding on what I said earlier about use cases, and suggest you consider these 3 questions. 1, how often do you truly need more than 200 millimeters? 2, how much more? That is, what precisely are you using those narrower fields of view for? How often? And 3, how much resolution are you putting behind those fields of view? Enough to get there through megapixels instead of bigger, heavier, more expensive glass? Because once you're clear about all 3, you may be surprised by where you end up. As I said, for what we do, we'd buy again even with the release of this lens, one or both of Sony's second generation 70-200 Holy Trinity zooms. It was only after the f4 arrived that I learned I could do without 2.8 for the urban landscapes I shoot at 200mm, even street portrait at that field of view. f4 and a light tweak using blur and post, they give me what I want 90% of the time. Both have enough resolution to crop substantially and still make noiseless prints 4 feet on the long side, no problem. But yes, the f4G OSS2 is twice the price of the 100-400 5.6-8 and 140 grams heavier. As always, it comes down to what works better for you. Impressively small, light, hand-holdable, optically performant, and inexpensive for the reach. Or a 1-2-3 stop advantage that can dramatically improve your images less in terms of resolution than in minimized subject blur, or dramatically better noise performance, but for which you will pay dearly, not only with your wallet, but your back, neck, shoulders, and wrist, futzing and schlepping. When the fit is right, I think Sony's FE 100-400 5.6-f8 is a steal and a superior handheld tool apples to apples once you move beyond 200mm. Put differently, a good optical 400 will beat a better optical 200 cropped to match it at 400. I therefore don't think of it merely as a first interchangeable full-frame long lens, although I understand why some other people do. I think it's either too good for that or simply the wrong tool for the job. But beyond all of that, as I close this out, it is not uninteresting to me that with this no appellation 100-400 5.6-f8, Sony has just released its version of a lens Canon released 5 years ago, and that lens is lighter and less expensive even now than the Sony, which may turn out to be a fascinating glimpse into Sony's evaluation of where there's still room to fill gaps and where there isn't. Perhaps a proof point of changing priorities from the recent higher margin play back to unit volume. Just saying.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes. E-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics and scheduling. Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 11 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation in the comment section below because this is an exceptional audience. If you'd like help with a portfolio review, gear selection, finding or honing your artistic voice, sign up for a one-on-one mentoring video call via Zoom at 3bmep.com/booking. Finally, please consider supporting our work by using the no-cost You affiliate links down below, sending us coffee money via PayPal, or most especially, joining us on Patreon, links down below as well. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.